guys, welcome back to another video. If you're an international nurse, you're planning to become an international nurse, you're a registered nurse, this video is for you. Now, if you like the content that I am producing and you want to see more, you can just simply press the like, share, and subscribe button. In today's video, we're going to talk about this major news that took place earlier this year. I started delayed in speaking on this, but I really need to talk about it. It is on the freezing of nurse green cards for international nurses. So if you're a foreign trade nurse, there has been a hold or a freeze on the issuance of green cards for registered nurses all across the world who are planning to matriculate to the United States. Now, on April 2023 of this year, I'm going to pull it up right here for you guys to read, and I have it right before me, and I'm going to read it. It says that the State Department in May issued a bulletin announcing that it will not accept any more visa applications for foreign nurses this year. Only those who submitted applications by June 1st, 2022 will be eligible for visa interviews. Now, if you submitted applications after that, they will have to wait until the beginning of the next fiscal year, which is in October. Now, from this, I also realized that they say about 15% of the nursing workforce is composed of foreign nurses. With the new visa limits, a new wave of immigrant nurses would likely not enter the US until 2025. So if you have not started your process before 2022 in terms of becoming an international nurse, your application for a visa interview will not be seen until 2025. We're in 2023, almost at the end, and that's 2024, 2025. That's almost 2 to 3 years of waiting. What does this mean? Now, for those who don't know, once you become an international nurse or go on a nurse program, you're given the ability based on your educational aspects that you have. You're given the ability to receive a green card. Now, with this new measure, they said that they have reached a limit. They have capped out, meaning that they have no more. So they have to put a freeze and a hold on the issuance of green card applications. Now, this came as a massive hit to many nurses across the world, and this has also created a massive hit to international recruitment companies for nursing, also a massive hit also to those hospital systems that are within the United States, because they rely a lot on international nurses to help offset shortages, especially those hospitals that are in rural areas where a lot of persons won't be able, do not really apply to because of it being a rural hospital. What does this mean moving forward? I think this news came as a shock for many, but retrogression is what it's called when they have a delay or ease in the issuance of work visas or green cards. But I've never heard of them saying that they're putting a freeze or a cap on it. I think they said they had reached their limit and exceeded their limit, which was 40,000. And I think one of the greatest impact of this and why this had happened was due to the pandemic. The pandemic came, COVID came, and they were extremely short staffed, especially in the United States. So they had to open up and make a lot of international nurses come in to help offset shortage. And I think a lot of persons, that's when majority of nurses also came here. Not to say they haven't been coming a lot of time, but a lot of nurses were recruited to offset nursing shortage to help with COVID. And I think that was something that also contributed to this being this new seizure or capping of the limiting on the number of issuance of applications, and resorting to 2025 to show that they have exhausted all their sources. Now, I realize that this has created a domino effect. The hospitals will be affected, recruiting companies will be affected, also nurses in other countries who were starting their process and ready to start their process to relocate will also be affected. But I think that somebody who will not be affected and will be happy to hear this news, even though it's a sad news for many other individuals in the other spaces, will be the countries that are being suffering from the brain drain. So with this, I know that many nurses won't be able to leave within the next 2 to 3 years. So countries will not be able to somewhat retain their nurses until there is an opening up of the system. No, it's very shocking news, but if you're within the period of 2022 where you started from before as an international nurse, your visa application will be seen. But if you're planning to start this year or next year or the year before, consider yourself 2 to 3 years now. What can you do if this happens to you in your process? It's a waiting process. I know companies will be still doing recruitment, because I think you can still sign up to take the NCLEX, do all the studying, but you just have to wait until your visa screen, until you get vetted to go to the embassy and to get accepted to travel and to start working overseas. However, it will put a damper on the spirits of nurses all across who are waiting to come over to work and to start a new life. It will definitely put a damper, and it's an important aspect whenever you're doing processes like these to keep up to date with your visa bulletin boards that are also found on the company's websites. You can see them on Facebook. Follow the companies to see if there are any changes that may happen. The next thing that you always need to do, guys, when you're doing a process like this, you have to have plan B. You can have plan A, make sure you have plan B. What happens if retrogression causes me not to leave at this required time frame? What am I going to do? Will I delay my process? Will I say I no longer need this? Will I move into another area or continue with my life? You need to have these written down of what you will do in those time periods also. It comes as a major shocker, and it's a news that broke the internet throughout the entire world with regards to this. And it does place a damper on person's spirit who wanted to start this process or are playing that waiting game. It's not easy when you're waiting for something and you're just waiting for an opportunity to leave. But I can say to you, make sure that you have a plan B once you're doing that international travel, going to anywhere, because anything can happen. It could have not Anything can happen, and could have not been even retrogression that may cause you not to leave for specific reasons. That is why in anything that you're doing, you have to have a plan B. There are so many other areas that you can look into, and I can give you guys some tips and advice. I don't know if they will practically may work. You can look into working into for the time period. I don't know, working in other areas or traveling to other areas also to see what you can do while waiting in that time period, or to look for other countries that may be willing to accept you guys while you wait, or if you want to delay that process or to move on to something else if you're not willing to wait for that time. But this news, when I saw it, well, I was like, wow, because retrogression normally happens throughout many persons' process, but I've never seen it like this, waiting so long. But things can change, because with the impact of nursing shortage, I don't know how long they may be able to do this, because this will actually put a strain on hospital systems in getting staff, and it may affect the healthcare force of the country. So we'll see how long we'll have to wait for something like this and what changes they will make into place into getting more nurses to work into the area. But I've said before that you guys have to make sure you have a plan B once you're doing anything like this, because you never know what can happen. But I know that governments of various countries who are suffering from brain drain and people leaving, hearing these news may not have a problem like it, because they would want to retain their nurses. But when they hear news like these, they need to work on proper retention strategies and proper payment of their staff back home. No, I said before that you guys should keep up with your visa bulletins that you may see online. Follow your companies for updates. If you're seeing months passing and you're not hearing from them, ask about news or what can you do in the meantime and what is suggested of it. Also, in the meantime, what you can do if you're still in the waiting game and you said you want to still stick out, continue to work on saving up your money, because you'll need a lot of it when you're transitioning, working on your skills, developing skills that you think you're not confident in. I know one particular skill which we all need, especially when you're leaving from back home. We're taught it, but we don't practice it enough, is citing IVs. find a course or a phlebotomy course back home, go back to school, just go to that course and make sure you know how to cite your IVs, do a course whether you want to go and do your ACLS, learn how to read your rhythm strips, know your sinus rhythm and all of that. So by the time your process come through, you're well up to par with everything that you may need to know, and you will have a smooth transition. Whether you want to keep on progressing with your life of going back to school, or you want to go and take out a house, for me particular, I would not be sitting down and just waiting. I am going on with my life because anything can happen. And that's what I'm encouraging all the nurses that may have suffered from this to do. Now, another area that I'm going to touch on with retrogression is mental health. And I think that is actually needed. What happens when you're in a waiting game for 2 to 3 years, waiting on an opportunity and a process to open, and you're not getting the results, and your mental health is taking a toll on you? We'll talk about that in the next video. If you like the content that I have produced and you want to know more, you can press the like, share, and subscribe button. And thank you for listening to Empowered RN.